Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's public safety briefing led by Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Phil Banks. Following our last speaker, we will take a few questions from the media, followed by some questions that have been submitted by the public ahead of today's briefing. I would now like to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Phil Banks.
So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another discussion about what the administration is doing to keep you safe, but more importantly, what we can do together to keep ourselves safe. So we have really two really important topics that's going to take place today. One of the topics is fire safety, and we're going to specifically on how to prevent fires caused by lithium-ion batteries. And those are the batteries that are used to power these e-bikes and other micro-mobility devices. As of this week, I think we're going to hear the rise of these cause of some of these fires. And I think it's the leading cause of fire-related deaths in New York City this year alone. And we're going to get a perspective on that, on how this has been going. But more importantly, we need you to concentrate on what we can do to avoid these things. And I'm joined by the FDNY's First Deputy Commissioner, Joe Pfeiffer, and the Chief of Fire Marshal, Daniel Flynn. And they're going to share with us, I think we're going to see a video, right, and some useful information about how we can prevent some of these issues that's taking place here. But the first topic today is something that's very important, especially as summer is approaching. It's water safety. And it's some of the things that we can do, right, to prevent certain deaths and injuries as it relates to water. And I think we're going to have some type of presentation, and we're going to have some good news about a Learn to Swim program. So I'm joined by the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation Commissioner, my colleague, Sue Donahue, and Assistant Commissioner for the Urban Park Service, Edwin Rodriguez. And they're going to give us some tips about safety around water safety. But if you're here joining us now, you know how to sign up for this. Please pass the word. If you go to hearfromeric.com, you can sign up. What does sign up mean? That we will be sending you emails and giving you information about what we're going to talk about. So, in fact, you can write us your questions, email us your questions in, some of the things that you want to get answers for. And certainly, we want to hear from you so that we could hear what we're doing right, what are we doing wrong, what do we need to improve on. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. If we work together as a team, we can actually achieve that goal. So the calendar says May 12th, but the temperature outside today kind of certainly feels like summer to me, right? We're about 2 weeks away from Memorial Day, right? That's, the official start of summer. And that marks the opening of our beaches, and I think soon after the opening of our pool. So we're going to hear about water safety. What do we need to do? Commissioner.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor Banks, and good to see you too. And good afternoon, everyone. You are absolutely right. It feels like, and it in fact is, summer is right around the corner. And so I'm so pleased to be here today to talk to you all about something that is so timely and so important for the safety of New Yorkers, which is water safety. Our city, as we know, is actually a city of water. Believe it or not, with over 500 miles of shoreline, we have more waterfront in New York City than Boston, Miami, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego combined. It's a whole lot of waterfront. And every year, millions of people visit our beaches and pools for fun, connection, and relaxation. And as you said, Deputy Mayor, I am happy to say that our swimming season is almost here. This year, our beaches will open, as you said, for swimming on Memorial Day weekend on Saturday, May 27th. And our pools will open a month later on June 29th, right when kids get out of school for the summer, which is great. While swimming offers an excellent source of recreation and a chance to cool off on the hottest days, we must also really be vigilant, and we are at the Parks Department in promoting water safety. First and foremost, the single most important thing that New Yorkers can do to stay safe at the beaches and pools is to follow all the directions of our lifeguards. And I have some slides here just to go over some key points. Our New York City Parks lifeguards have an excellent track record of protecting New Yorkers during operating hours in open sections of our beach. And it's really imperative that New Yorkers are mindful to only swim where lifeguards are on duty and to follow all of their directions. They are on duty 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at beaches. And no swimming sections are marked with very distinctive red flags, as we have here on the PowerPoint. Lifeguards are here for everyone's safety. And as we have unfortunately seen in past summers, swimming after the beach has closed can absolutely have deadly consequences. I'd like to now turn to our next slide, which is specifically about rip currents. Rip currents are powerful, narrow channels of fast-moving water that flow quickly away from the shore. Moving at speeds of up to 8 feet per second, rip currents can move faster than an Olympic swimmer. So they're extremely powerful and something we take very seriously. So please remember, if you're caught in a rip current, don't panic. Try to remain calm and begin to swim parallel to the shore. Once away from the force of the rip current, you can swim back to the beach. Don't attempt to swim directly against a rip current. Even a strong swimmer can become exhausted quite quickly. Next, we just want to move on to our top 10 water safety tips. Beyond rip currents, there are many other things we can all do to be safe at beaches and pools. When entering the water, remember, only swim where lifeguards are present, and please follow all of their directions. And obey all posted signs and flags. Remember, red flags mean please don't swim in this area. And even if you don't plan on swimming, you're just going to the beach for the day, there are still important ways to stay safe at the beach. Never leave children unattended in and around the city's water bodies. Wear sunscreen, stay hydrated, and make sure to know before you go. Be aware of the weather conditions before you leave for the waterfront. Lastly, and most importantly, the best way to stay safe in the water is by taking a swimming or a water safety class. So on that note, I'm very happy to announce today that despite some uncertainty surrounding our swim programming, we'll be welcoming back Youth Learn to Swim classes and New York City Parks summer camps to our outdoor pools this summer in a limited capacity. We know how important access to our pools and learning how to swim are to New Yorkers across the city. So despite a national lifeguard shortage that has continued to shutter pools in cities across the country, we're doing all we can to recruit as many lifeguards as possible. We're fortunate that here in New York City, we were able to open all of our pools and beaches last summer, and we're committed to doing that again this summer. After a very aggressive recruitment campaign over the winter, it is abundantly clear that we must continue to plan long-term for the lifeguard shortage as we build back our core to pre-pandemic levels. We also understand the grave importance of teaching the next generation how to swim for health and safety and in order to provide a pipeline for the next generation of lifeguards. Our focus has been to devise a sustainable plan for the continuation of summertime swim lessons and access for camps that least impinges on public access to pools. So this year, we will be hosting free Learn to Swim classes at 6 pools across the city. The classes are free and will be open through a lottery, which will be available on our website at nyc.gov/parks starting in June. Lastly, we absolutely want New Yorkers to be safe and have fun this summer at our pools and beaches. That's what they're there for. That's what we want people to do. So we just want to emphasize, please remember to follow all posted signage. We have examples here on the screen. Listen to the direction of lifeguards and only swim when lifeguards are present. I'm looking forward to seeing you all out there and enjoying our beaches and pools this summer. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for having me. Thanks.
That was fantastic. You know, listen, information is the key, right? The more information you can arm yourself with, the better that you are. It actually is part of your wealth, having this information. So I just want to clarify a couple of things. So if there's a riptide, right? You say even trained lifeguards, right? Riptide, swim, don't go up against it, swim parallel to it, correct?
Exactly. Don't panic, swim parallel to the shore. Just focus on getting back to shore.
So it's very important. So we are now communicating it as best we possibly can, but we can do better if you, the audience, if you hear it, share it with one person, share with the neighbor, share with the family member. If you go up against your riptide, right, even Olympic type swimmers have challenges, right? Swim parallel, not go against it. Now, I know that we've had a national lifeguard shortages, right? So, and the lifeguards are there until 6 p.m.?
Yes,
Right.
exactly, at our beaches.
Now, we do know that if we have a responsible adult, they are probably, or at least likely, not to go out there and swim when the lifeguard's not present. But sometimes these are children, right? And we're not faulting the children. We need you as the parent, you as the guardian, to get that information to your children as much as possible. We do know you go out there late at night, you're with your friends, it's fun. But if there's no lifeguard present, you just increase your chances of something happening, of you not returning, right? So we just need you to ensure that you can do all you can to get that particular message out to everyone. I'm highlighting the children now because I think from time to time we see them going out there at this particular point, but it is for anyone. No, it's convenient. You're out there, you're having a good time. Lifeguard, it's not there. It becomes certainly a no-no. But I also want to point to, you says that there's free swimming classes at 6 pools, right? And I think that we're just reopening this up. We didn't do it last year or the year before.
Exactly, Deputy Mayor. We're really pleased to be able to announce today that we have, even though we know we're going to be constrained and our lifeguard numbers are still going to be constrained, we felt it was imperative to prioritize those free Learn to Swim lessons. So we're going to make our pools available for both Learn to Swim and the public so that we can have opportunities for the public to enjoy our pools, but also be building that next core of lifeguards.
Listen, it's all fun until it's not fun anymore. So I think this is some very useful information. Please pass it on as effectively as you choose to. That could be your social media, your own personal conversations. And we as an administration is going to continue to get this information out. This is something that is avoidable. We could avoid some of the deaths and tragedies that take place if we share this information as much as we possibly can. So I really appreciate that. A lot of useful information. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Of course, thank you.
So now we're going to hear up from the fire department. So we have the first deputy commissioner of the fire department. We have our chief fire marshal that's here now. Lithium batteries, right? We are seeing a rise, once you go into that, a rise in lithium battery fires. They are probably all avoidable if we have the information. The fire commissioner was on approximately a month ago, and she gave, and I still remember it, don't charge them overnight. Don't have them in your path. You have a regress. You have to get out the front door or the back door. They should not be at that particular path. It cuts off access. But I think we're going to share video, and we're going to drill down specifically, right? And we had a recent fire that took place, and we had some casualties there, right? It's all fun until it's not fun anymore. So please help us pass this information along, as we will do the best that we possibly can to get this information out as much as possible. So, Commissioner, welcome.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I believe you're right. Getting information out to our public, to our communities, is so important for safety, so that that we could feel safe this summer and all through the year. But it means we have to look at some difficult situations. This past Sunday afternoon, firefighters responded to the scene of a heavily involved fire in Washington Heights. It was fast-moving and extremely destructive. 4 people were rescued from the fire, but they were critically injured. Unfortunately, all 4 residents have since died from that fire. And our hearts go out to those family members. We know how difficult that must be for families to deal with such a tragedy. Our fire marshals determined that lithium-ion batteries was the cause of that fire. And there were multiple lithium-ion batteries found in that apartment. So far this year, lithium-ion batteries have claimed the lives of 9 New Yorkers, making it the leading cause of fire deaths so far this year. This is unprecedented and extremely alarming. The lithium-ion batteries have quickly taken the top spot for causing fire deaths. Electrical fires have for decades been in that top spot for fire fatalities, and that so far has changed this year with batteries. This is why we're asking the public to please heed our continual call for e-safety. We know that micro-mobility devices are already in your homes, and we are asking you to help us to ensure that the safety of your families and neighbors are a top priority for you and all of New Yorkers. We released a new public service announcement video earlier this week, and I'd like to play for you that video today. Pretty powerful video when you see the batteries explode in the beginning of that film. And we're hoping that it continues to educate our residents about what to do if these devices are already in your home. We will be using that video in multiple languages to reach out to all our communities. And here is what we want you to know, and we want you to take action. We're calling this e-safety. It's steps that you can do right now to keep everyone safe. And I'll give you three important steps. The first is, if the battery is between you and the exit or your windows, move it. The battery should never be between you and the way out of your home or apartment. 2, if the battery doesn't have approved safety certifications or it is damaged, don't use it. And 3, please don't charge the batteries and having them unattended. And whatever you do not charge overnight. Doing these things can save lives. We have come at this problem from multiple angles, working with the mayor, and the mayor's Change Safety and Ride Safety program is a great tool for helping New Yorkers navigate through the usage of micromobility devices. We continue to work with local, state, and federal, and as well as the private sector, the industry, on regulations. But we need your help. We need the public, because these batteries are already here. You can head to our website, fdnysmart.org, for a full list of recommendations on best practices and a lot of good information. But so far this year, we have had 77 fires, 56 injuries, and 9 deaths due to lithium-ion batteries. These fires are extremely dangerous. They could create a large volume of fire very, very quickly and presents significant threats to the lives of New Yorkers and our firefighters. We urge everyone to know what to do and what not to do with your micro mobility devices. together we can make New York City safe so we can save lives.
Hey, Commissioner, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Chief Flynn, okay, so now I understand that this is the leading cause of fire deaths in New York City this year. Is that accurate about
That's
that?
correct, yes.
How many deaths did we have in 2020?
2020, we had 0. So that's really startling.
So we had 0 deaths, hold on, we had 0 deaths lithium related in 2020.
Yes.
And in 23, we have 9 in May.
Yes, not even halfway through the year.
Hey team, this is something that's preventable and avoidable. So what generally is the leading cause? Because we don't want to negate that. What is generally the leading cause of fires in New York City?
Traditionally, electrical reasons are the leading cause of fire fatalities in the city. So electrical, careless cooking, smoking have been our leading cause of fatalities in the city. As you mentioned, so far this year, we've had 9. All of last year, we had 6. So we continue to see this number exponentially increase.
See, here's where I have a concern at, is that it appears to me that, and I think the numbers bear it out, that more and more people are utilizing these E-type bikes. You know, it may be a few type bikes that fall under the category. So I'm speaking from an umbrella point of view, E-type bikes. And more people are probably going to be using that. And if we have 9 now with the amount now, I mean, this is a very, very dangerous situation that's taking place here. Now, last week, the fire up in Washington Heights, there's 4 people who passed away, who've deceased because of the fire, correct?
Yes.
And that doesn't just affect those, you know, that affects the whole community. That affects family. It's something that's avoidable, and this is something that we can do. So when I say team, I'm talking about everybody, not just the people employed by administration. New York City, we can do this. So what do you need to do? One, first of all, tell one person. Just tell one person, hey, this is the information that I heard. You need to take heed. So remember now, we're talking about having it areas in regress, right? You said don't use damaged batteries or aftermarket batteries, right? You buy the aftermarket battery, it's going to save you $10 or $15 or $20. It is nowhere close to worth the price that potentially that you're engaging yourself and your family. You says don't charge them overnight. Don't charge them overnight because that can actually spark and cause it as well.
And you're sleeping, and you won't know about it. So we don't want people to do it overnight and not knowing. We want them to be conscious when they charge the batteries and be aware.
Chief Flynn, so you are the chief of the fire marshal, so you investigate all fires, right? All fires come under your purview, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a soft number. Off the top of your head, how many of these homes that you've investigated, these fires? So right now, so I just want to be clear what his role is, the chief fire marshal in New York City. So a suspicious fire, he's responsible for investigating and concluding if there's any criminality, what was the cause of it. From a percentage point of view, how many of these homes have smoke detectors in them?
It's percentage-wise, it's hard to say, but we have had several that have not had the smoke detectors, and in those cases, not just related to lithium-ion batteries,
Right.
but in cases where they don't have smoke detectors, people lose their lives. So that's really not just the numbers,
Right.
but the fatality numbers. You know, we've seen people recently that have not had working smoke detectors, that if not for that fact, they would be alive today. Not only that, but we want to stress the traditional fire safety messages. We don't want them to get lost here because they ring true related to the lithium-ion batteries as well. Make sure you have working smoke detectors. Make sure you close the door if you leave an apartment that is on fire. Close that door, and that saves lives. Make sure you have a plan. Know if there is a fire, regardless of the cause, how are you going to get out? How are you going to get your children and get them out of there to safety?
Very important. I just remember, and I think we were speaking earlier, I remember, and I'm just going back years and years and years, that I had seen a video, and it was around Christmas time, and the fire department had a Christmas tree, and they lit it on fire, and the amount of seconds that it took for the whole place to be engulfed, right? So that was a visualization that stuck with me. Also, I remember years ago that the fire department put out a close the door campaign, and it was just close the door. They told the fire, close the door, close the door. And if you keep the door closed, right, you actually prevent the spreading of the fire, you save your lives, you save other people's lives there as well. These videos here, because I think that was a great visualization, can the public access those videos? Have we released those publicly yet? And how do they get those? Listen.
Yes, we released it already, and they could go to the website, fdnysmart.org. And there's one other thing, as you were talking, Deputy Mayor, and you were talking about collaboration and people coming together. When it comes to e-safety, I think we should ask our young people, because a lot of them are the ones using these bikes, to be aware of this and to go home or go to their friends and say, do you know that you have to keep that battery away from your way out and not to use aftermarket and damaged batteries? So I think that message we get out to the general public, but I think we task our young people to get that message even further to all parts of our community.
Good point. So we're going to push that. So that's a good point. We're going to push that on how do we get it out to as many younger people as possible. And when we say get out to people, we want to get out to everybody, but maybe targeted, maybe a good point. And certainly if you could get that message out to the people who are viewing it now, tell one person, tell two people, tell a neighbor, tell a friend, give your cousin a call today. Just let them know that we as New Yorkers can do this. We can actually prevent people from having fatalities, whether it's in the water or within a fire. This is something that's a lot of this is under our control, and the more information that we spread and continue to talk about, we can actually improve our chances of ending up like this. So, okay, so we have some questions. Derek?
Yes, thank you. Earlier this week, the administration reached out to New Yorkers asking them to submit questions for the officials that have joined us here today. We will now get to as many of those as we can with the amount of time that we have left. Our first question comes from Michael in Brooklyn for the Parks Department. He asks, has the department considered keeping the pools open late on weekends? Pool parties, essentially. There could be food and music.
Thank you very much for the question. Thank you, Michael from Brooklyn, for asking the question. As I said earlier, we are still very much grappling with a national lifeguard shortage. We would absolutely love to be able to keep facilities open later and longer, but the reality is we are working within the constraints of the number of lifeguards. And our priority, first and foremost, is always safety. So we need to have the requisite lifeguards available at each pool, and we want to have those pools be available and have access for as many New Yorkers as possible. So a great idea, but it's really, it is related to the lifeguard shortage.
And it actually is a real great idea, right? So what we need to do is, Sheila, we need to note that, and at some particular point, and unfortunately, it may not be this year because of the constraints, but that might be something we need to, who would not like a nice, safe pool party at midnight, right? So it's a great one. We'll see about that one. Great idea, though.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Franklin in Manhattan for the FDNY. Can the FDNY establish manufacturing standards for lithium-ion batteries that must be met for use in New York City?
What I think the FDNY can do is to build public-private partnerships with our industry to make these batteries safer. And we're doing that already, talking to the Consumer Product Safety Administration, talking for safety certifications. So we can. It's up to the government working with the private sector to collaborate and say, this is what our communities need. We're going to use these bikes, but we need safe batteries and safe charging, and also those standards. So Deputy Mayor, I think from this table, and I know Commissioner Kavanaugh and the mayor himself wants to push this forward, this idea of safety, and maybe we coined the phrase e-safety. Mm-hmm. So the public within the city and across the country, and I would even say globally, gets the message out that together we will create an environment of e-safety, so we can use these new devices and be safe at home.
That's a good point.
If I could just-
Yes.
To that point, the mayor recently did sign a bill that requires devices sold within the city to be certified by a nationally tested lab. So that has been signed already. So I think that's an important first step.
Right. But that doesn't negate, just for the audience side, that doesn't negate people coming in on that secondary market to sell an inferior product that is financially cheaper, but in the long run, much, much, much more expensive to do it. So in addition to the legislation that has been signed, we still need to educate ourselves and keep this information flowing.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Shelly Ann in Brooklyn. This is for Deputy Mayor and also the Parks Department. I believe we've already started looking into this one. What is happening with the land on Seaview Avenue between 102nd Street and 108th Street in Canarsie? The plants are overgrown, and I used to be able to walk my dog there.
The plants are overgrown?
Correct.
Okay. Well, first thing is that, you see, that's very important. I would like to ask that question. When you get information like this, please, through any different venue that you want, but I need to hear it through 311 as well as anything additional. We track 311, we look at 311, we're looking at the responses. The mayor is ensuring that we are, in fact, tightening up to make sure that people are not only getting action taken, but they're getting it in a much more swift and nimble manner. So the first thing I would do is say that when you have any issues like that, please get it through the 311 issue that's taking place here. I'm not specifically familiar with Seaview Avenue. Is Parks Department property? Okay, so Commissioner?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the question. And I completely agree. We are so focused on being responsive to 311, and we're all very much looking at and responding to that incoming. So really agree with that point. Put it in 311. We are aware of this situation in this property, and we have folks that are going to be addressing it.
And just make sure if you flag that for me, because if it was important enough for this person to call up here, we just want to make sure that we take a real good look at that to make sure that if there's a solvable problem, we solve it as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you. The next question comes from Lee in Queens for the Parks Department, who asks, what strategy does your agency use to keep people away from staying in parks after dusk?
Thank you very much for the question, and it's something that we are very focused. As I said, this is about this discussion today is about public safety, and we absolutely are very much focused on public safety, and that is where our PEP officers are a really important part of making sure and helping to ensure that people are following parks rules. We also have an important partnership with PD, and we are looking to make sure that our parks are safe at all hours. Absolutely.
The next question is for the FDNY from Beltran in the Bronx. This is an interesting one. He asks, can fire hydrants be closed in a way that only firefighters can open them?
Thank you for that question. We're concerned about drop in water pressure, especially when there's a fire. And there are hydrants that can only be opened by firefighters. So DEP has a set of hydrants that can only be opened with a special wrench. We're also able to put on a hydro shield on the caps on the hydrant that stops anyone from opening the hydrant itself. So already we have a number of methods to deal with open hydrants, and certainly through community boards or your local firehouse, they can go and talk to the firefighters and get a shield put on the hydrant so water will not flow in a particular area.
That's a very interesting question, right? Because oftentimes I know that when I was working, you had on those hot days, right, a lot of hydrants open, and it was almost like, well, it is hot and people do want to cool off, but on the flip side of it, may change water pressure and cause other issues. So very, very interesting. I like to flag that question to get back to him because I like that question, and we need to drill out and just find out the percentages and how effective that is. So I salute that question, though.
And also, the local firehouses can put spray caps on. So instead of thousands of gallons coming out and people need to cool off, well, there's a spray.
Spray that comes right.
So,
Thank you. Our next question comes from Brenda in Queens for the Parks Department. She asks, will the department consider designating shallow waterfront parks properties to be sectioned off for water safety instruction and swim lessons to schools and community children?
Thank you for that question, and it's such a good one. As we talked about at this briefing, water safety and learn to swim instruction is so important to the Parks Department, and that's why we're so pleased and working hard this summer to be able to offer our learn to swim classes at locations at 6 outdoor pools this summer. So appreciate the focus and interest in learn to swim. We know how important it is for New Yorkers, and as I said to the Deputy Mayor, what we want to do is we want to be building for that next generation of lifeguards. So the learn to swim we know is so important, and we're very focused on providing it.
We teach you how to swim, then we'll hire you, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you. On behalf of the Adams administration, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to today's briefing. We look forward to seeing you all at our next one. Have a great day.
Thank you.